Hi, welcome back. You've caught me in the pain cave, or the shed, on the turbo. Got a little bit of Zwift going on, as you do on a Tuesday night. Just a little easy 60-minute spin. Yeah, the plan is just to stretch the legs out a little bit, because if you've been watching, I raced on Sunday and I'm absolutely shattered. My legs are in bits from that, having put all blood, guts and sweat and tears into it. It was great fun. I really enjoyed it. So for those of you who haven't checked in on the other video, it was a cross-country off-road duathlon at Staunton Harold, which was over in Ashby-de-la-Zouch in Leicestershire, and I had entered the standard distance, and the format for that was an 8-kilometre cross-country run, and then it was a 15-kilometre mountain bike off-road course, although they did allow a few cyclocross bikes, gravel bikes, whatever, but I was doing it on a mountain bike as per the normal rules. And then to finish off with a 5k, I think it was a 5k run, 4k run, cross country, the same course basically, but without the 3k loop on the end. So yeah, it was pretty tough, but exactly my kind of thing. So we started off having registered and got all sorted out with the numbers and got the bike set up, helped out a couple of people with bits and pieces. A couple of people who have not done it before were a little unsure of a few things, helped pin a few numbers on for them, and I lent a mate of mine an inner tube. We had a tyre issue with not seating properly, etc., in his tubular setup, and then had a little bit of a run round some of the course to get warmed up, but didn't go too far. I only went down the road, so I missed out on knowing what was to come. Hadn't recce'd the course, was just going to rely on finding my way, and as it happened, the race organizer was on a mountain bike, and he was going to be like lead bike, and then he was just cut to the side at certain parts where we were going to be quicker than him, so he could shortcut through, and we kept catching him up at various points, so we could continue to lead the way without having to try and outride us, because he was never going to manage that with the conditions being as wet and slippery and muddy as it was. So yeah, so we started off. I set off at a good rate, thinking I might have a good chance of being in the podium position. A guy set off in front particularly quickly, and he looked like he was going to go well, but I wasn't sure how long he was going to be able to keep that up for. So I just ticked along behind him, let him do all the work. We went down the road, rounded a corner, turned into like a nature reserve area where you can sort of walk the dogs and stuff like that, and it was underwater. Yeah, literally underwater. So that was over ankle deep, freezing cold, bit of a shock to the system, extremely muddy, extremely wet, very slippery, definitely trail shoes required. It was good to see nobody in vapor flies on this one. Some still try, but not on that kind of place, and certainly none of the people there were in the spirit of a trail of a Nike carbon plated shoe. So yeah, by then I'd taken the lead, and there was one other chap who was pretty handy at the running. He sat on my shoulder, and we both ran together. I think we basically dropped most people within the first mile, and there was a lot of sort of twisty turny, very, very muddy, wet, slippery. It was a great course, very twisty. You have to be careful of staying on your feet. I was slipping about a bit and having to work hard to stay upright, but that was good. And then that went on for a little while, with a bit of climbing in it, which made it even more interesting. Eventually popped out onto a bit of a gravel hard path, like a footpath basically, and then that ran along the top, dropped us down out of there onto a like a farm track, which was nice and boggy still, a bit muddy. Pegged it down there, and that then brought us back into the estate as it is of Staunton Harold. We then ran, well, that was the end of the 5k section. We then ran some of the bike course in a 3 kilometre section, which was the extra bit on the end that made it 8 kilometres, which was good. So a few hills thrown in, some grass and some mud, a little bit of downhill over some roots, back onto the path, and then into transition. And by then, thankfully, I'd got a few seconds. I think it was about 5 or 10 seconds lead on the second place guy. So straight into transition, and I'd been a bit sneaky, or a bit lazy in fact, and decided I'd swap my pedals out for flat pedals. They were pretty new, so they've got good little sharp spikes, studs in them, and so I wore my trail shoes, didn't need to change, grabbed my bike, grabbed my helmet, straight out of transition without any messing about, straight on the bike onto the course, knowing it was only 15k, knowing it wasn't going to be the kind of course that clipping pedals would gain much advantage on. There was no long prolonged climbs, no long fast straight sections where you could really get power down. It's just a matter of jumping on and navigating the bike through, and for one big part of the climbing section on it, it was very muddy to the point where you couldn't ride it, you could barely run up it. In fact, it was almost walking. So as soon as I got to that, having ran up that section, I knew full well I was going to get to that bit, jump off the bike, push it up the hill as fast as I can, jump back on at the top, carry on riding. I did that every time for 3 laps, and I think everybody else probably did the same. I don't think anybody would have ridden up that. A little bit of confusion on the bike course at the very top section, when it sort of zigzagged in and out of some trees. They taped it and put arrows, and I was led down a dead end. I don't know why, but anyway, either I got it wrong or they got it wrong, I'm not sure, it doesn't really matter. Got it figured out in the end and carried on, and by the time I come around again, there'd been some changes and it was much easier to work out where we were going, so that was okay. A few people apparently behind me got in a bit of a mess and were doing loops of a field that they shouldn't have done, but yeah, so I kept looking back, and the guy in second place had dropped away, so I thought I'm fine, I got a good lead, didn't need to work too hard on the bike, so I could save my effort for the final run and really enjoy that, knowing it was going to be the repeat of the first run but a little bit shorter. So I was looking forward to that. Worked on the bike but not too hard, like I say, cheering people on the way round, because there was a lot of double back where you're riding back in towards people coming a bit further behind you, and so there was a bit of cheering people on and, you know, good luck and keep going and etc. So that was good fun. And then onto the third lap, I noticed there was a guy was starting to catch me a little bit, and then towards the end of that lap he did manage to catch up with me, overtake me quite strongly, and I had to suddenly put a lot more effort in. I didn't want him getting away, I wasn't sure how fast he was going to be, and so I basically put in an extra kick to keep him within, I think it was about 30-40 metres, so he wasn't getting too far in front. And I was kind of banking on the fact that I hadn't really seen him at the first run, towards the end of the first run, so hopefully he wasn't going to trouble me too much on the final run, but you never know. You don't want to get complacent about these things. So yeah, I kept him in sight, and again, running into transition, it was a matter of no need to unclip, put the bike in the rack, helmet off, already got my shoes on, ran off. Came out in first, ran up the road. He was a few yards behind me, I think it was about 10-15 seconds back, and then I progressively pulled away and I didn't see him again, and so I had a 5k all to myself. And I could have just, I suppose I could have been a little bit easier and jogged it through so as not to strain myself too much, but you know, I'm a racer, and I can't really turn it off that easily, as sensible as it would have been. So I worked as hard as I thought I could and pushed on. I wanted to, basically, it's a training run in a way. You know, I'm training for the championships, so I wanted to make sure that I could acclimatise my body to running as hard as possible at the end of a duathlon. It's always the hard bit, and if you're not going to practice doing it in a race situation, then you know, when are you going to do it? So I made sure I worked as hard as I could, and I could definitely feel it. The old body was, well, my legs were starting to suffer a bit towards the end, and my knees are getting a little bit achy from having had a couple of weeks off running all together. They were starting to argue a little bit, but no pain, just a little bit, you know, the little niggly feelings as you get sometimes. Yeah, so I came in, finished in a decent lead, and jobs are good, and as they say, I managed to win the race outright, and then as a result of that, I also won my age group. So 2 little trophies, nicely well organised event, very friendly, definitely worth doing again. I really enjoyed the course. The landscape was brilliant. Staunton Harold is a lovely country estate I've never been to before, even though it's not that far away. So I would definitely sign up for another one, whether it'll be as muddy and slippy as it was this time, but you never know, fingers crossed. I think they've got one in the summer, so we'll see what it's like then. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and so far the body's holding up, the knees aren't complaining, it's been fine since. So yeah, I'm on the bike tonight just for 60 minutes, as you can hear, drone on the Zwift, just plugging away for 60 minutes. I think I'm barely in zone 2 here, I don't know, but just sort of check in with you and let you all know how it went. Thanks for the comments on the last video, for the attempt of training with an injury. Nobody likes it. We all want to get through it as quickly as possible, but you've got to let things heal before you can push on. And I was worried I'd pushed it a bit too soon, but I guess I'm going to be okay, so fingers crossed, eh? Well, thanks for watching another one of my rambling videos. I'll let you go. I'll get myself a drink and carry on for the next 40 minutes, I think it is. Tune in next time for another one. Do us a favour, click the like button, click the subscribe button, tune in, watch some more of these rubbish videos in the future. Nice one. See you later.